You're throwing your life away on some stupid little hobby. Those words came from my own mother, standing in the middle of my college graduation party. Not whispered, not aside, right there in front of everyone, my aunts, my cousins, my boyfriend's entire family. I was 23 years old, holding a degree in digital marketing that I'd worked 3 jobs to pay for. I'd just told everyone about my new position at a small startup. Remote work, equity options, creative freedom. My mother laughed. Actually laughed. While your brother is becoming a lawyer, you're playing on computers. She turned to my Aunt Linda. I don't know where I went wrong with this one. My boyfriend Marcus squeezed my hand, but he didn't say anything. He just looked down. My brother Kevin smirked from across the room. He worked at Henderson & Associates, this prestigious consulting firm downtown. He'd been there 2 years and never let me forget it. Some of us have real careers, sis, he said, raising his champagne glass. Some of us contribute to society. Everyone laughed. Even Marcus smiled a little. I felt my face burn. My hands shook. But I smiled. I smiled like nothing was wrong, like my own family hadn't just humiliated me on what should have been my day. We'll see, I whispered. Nobody heard me. But they would. The startup was called Pixel and Thread. We built custom digital solutions for mid-sized companies. Branding, web design, social media strategy. Nothing glamorous. Nothing my family would understand. But I was good at it. Really good. Within 6 months, I'd brought in 4 major clients. Within a year, I was managing a team of 5. The CEO, Rita, was this brilliant woman in her 40s who saw something in me that my own family never did. You have instinct, she told me during my first review. You see patterns others miss. She offered me a promotion. Junior creative director. At 24. I called my mom to tell her. That's nice, sweetie, she said, distracted. Kevin just made senior associate. We're having a dinner party next week to celebrate. You should come. Maybe wear something professional for once. I hung up. Marcus and I broke up 3 months later. He said I was too focused on work and not present. What he meant was, I wasn't willing to play small anymore. At Kevin's celebration dinner, I sat at the far end of the table. My mother barely acknowledged me. My father asked about my computer thing like it was a phase. Kevin, drunk on expensive wine, leaned over. Still playing startup, little sis? When are you going to get a real job? His fiancée, Stephanie, giggled. She worked at Henderson & Associates, too? In HR. I took a sip of water, my hands steady this time. I'm doing just fine, I said quietly. Kevin laughed. Fine doesn't pay for this kind of dinner. I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip the table. But instead, I smiled and excused myself to the bathroom. In the mirror, I made myself a promise. One day they'd choke on those words. 2 years passed. I turned 26. Pixel and Thread had grown. We were no longer a startup. We were a legitimate agency with 40 employees and clients across 3 states. Rita had made me creative director. Full stop. No junior in front of it. I was making more money than I'd ever imagined. More than Kevin, actually. But I never told my family. They never asked. I went to family dinners once a month. Sat quietly. Listened to my mother brag about Kevin's accomplishments. Watched Stephanie show off her engagement ring, then her wedding dress, then her honeymoon photos. And what about you? My Aunt Linda asked me once. Any boyfriend? Any progress? Progress. Like I was behind schedule on becoming a person. I'm focused on my career, I said. My mother sighed. Still that computer job? Kevin, now married to Stephanie, bought a house. My parents helped with the down payment. When I'd asked for help with student loans years ago, my mother had said, "You made your choices." At Kevin's housewarming party, I overheard him talking to my uncle. Honestly, I feel bad for her, Kevin said. She's almost 30, no husband, working at some random company nobody's heard of. Mom worries. I stood in the hallway, frozen. Stephanie walked past me, didn't even make eye contact. That night, I got a call from Rita. "We need to talk," she said. "In person, tomorrow." Her voice was serious. My heart dropped. Was I being fired? Had I done something wrong? I barely slept. The next morning, I walked into her office expecting the worst. Instead, Rita slid a folder across her desk. "I'm retiring," she said. "And I want you to buy the company." "Buy the company?" I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. Rita nodded. "You've earned it. You've brought in 60% of our revenue over the last 2 years. The clients trust you. The team respects you. This should be yours." I stared at the folder. Inside were financial projections, valuation reports, terms. "I can't afford this," I said, my hands trembling. "You can," Rita said firmly. "I've structured it so you can pay me out over 5 years from profits. I've already talked to investors who want in. They believe in you. I believe in you." I felt tears burning behind my eyes. Nobody had ever said those words to me. Not my parents. Not Marcus. Not anyone. "Why me?" I asked. Rita smiled. "Because you're hungry. Because you see what others don't. And because you deserve it." I signed the papers 2 weeks later. At 26 years old, I became CEO of Pixel and Thread. I didn't tell my family. Not yet. 3 months after the acquisition, I was reviewing our client roster when I noticed something interesting. We'd been pitching to a consulting firm downtown for months. They needed a complete digital overhaul. Website, branding, social media, internal communications. The firm's name, Henderson and Associates. Kevin's company. Stephanie's company. My heart raced. "Should we pursue this?" My sales director asked during our meeting. I looked at the proposal. It was a massive contract. 6 figures. Maybe 7 if we played it right. I smiled slowly. "Absolutely," I said. "Let's give them a pitch they'll never forget." 2 weeks later, I got the email. Henderson and Associates wanted to meet. The meeting was scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. Downtown, their headquarters. I'd been in that building once before, at Kevin's wedding reception. They'd rented out the top floor conference room. I remembered feeling small that day, invisible, watching everyone celebrate my brother while I stood in the corner with cheap wine. Not this time. I wore my best suit. Black, tailored, expensive, hair pulled back, minimal jewelry. I looked like power. My team and I walked into Henderson and Associates' lobby. Glass, marble, the kind of place designed to intimidate. The receptionist smiled. "You're here for the Pixel and Thread presentation?" "Yes," I said calmly. "Conference room B, 3rd floor." We took the elevator up. My heart was pounding, but my face was ice. The doors opened. And there he was, Kevin, standing in the hallway talking to 2 men in suits. He glanced over, did a double take, then froze. "Sarah?" I smiled. Professional, polite, cold. "Hello, Kevin." His mouth opened, then closed. What are you doing here?" "I'm here for the meeting," I said simply. "What meeting?" One of the men next to him extended his hand. "You must be from Pixel and Thread. I'm Robert Chen, VP of Operations. We've been excited about this pitch." Kevin's face went white. "This is your company?" he stammered. "My company," I said clearly. "Yes." Stephanie appeared from the conference room. She saw me. Her smile vanished. "Sarah?" she said, confused. "Shall we?" I said to Robert, ignoring both of them. Kevin stood frozen as I walked past him into the conference room. He had no idea what was coming. The conference room was full. 12 people from Henderson and Associates, senior partners, department heads. Kevin sat near the middle, still looking stunned. Stephanie was at the far end, whispering to someone. I stood at the front, connected my laptop, and smiled. "Good afternoon. I'm Sarah Mitchell, CEO of Pixel and Thread. Thank you for inviting us today." Robert Chen nodded encouragingly. "We've heard impressive things about your agency. We're excited to show you what we can do," I said. For the next 30 minutes, I delivered the best pitch of my life. I showed them case studies, growth metrics, before and after transformations of companies we'd rescued from digital obscurity. I spoke with confidence, clarity, and vision. I was brilliant. And I knew it. Kevin kept staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. When I finished, Robert leaned back in his chair. "This is exactly what we need. Our digital presence is frankly embarrassing for a firm of our caliber." One of the senior partners, an older woman named Margaret, spoke up. Your portfolio is exceptional. But I have to ask, you're quite young to be running an agency of this size. I smiled. I'm 26. I became CEO 8 months ago after working my way up from entry level. Age hasn't stopped me from generating $8 million in revenue last year. The room went silent. Kevin's jaw actually dropped. $8 million? Margaret repeated. Yes, ma'am. We're projected to hit $12 million this year. Stephanie looked like she might be sick. Robert grinned. When can you start? Pending contract negotiations, we could begin in 2 weeks, I said smoothly. Excellent. Robert stood, shook my hand. We'll have our legal team send over the contract tomorrow. As people filed out, Kevin finally approached me. Sarah, I had no idea you had a real career. I finished for him. His face flushed red. Kevin opened his mouth, then closed it. For once in his life, he had nothing to say. I need to talk to you, he finally managed. Privately. I don't think that's appropriate, I said, packing up my laptop. We're about to have a professional relationship. Let's keep it that way. Sarah, please. His voice cracked a little. Just 5 minutes. I looked at him. Really looked at him. The golden child. The favorite. The one who'd made me feel worthless my entire life. Fine, I said. 5 minutes. We walked to an empty office down the hall. Kevin closed the door, ran his hand through his hair. I didn't know, he started. Mom never said you were running your own company. She always just said you worked in digital marketing or whatever. She doesn't know, I said flatly. I stopped telling her anything 2 years ago. She stopped listening long before that. Kevin flinched. Look, I know I wasn't always. You called my career a joke, I interrupted. Multiple times. At my graduation, at your wedding, at family dinners. You made me feel like I was wasting my life. I was an idiot, he said quickly. I was jealous, okay? You always did your own thing. You never cared what people thought. I followed every rule. Did everything right. And you still ended up successful? I finished. You can say it, Kevin. He looked down. Yeah. For a moment, I almost felt bad for him. Almost. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady. My team is going to transform your company's entire digital presence. We're going to do exceptional work. And you're going to sit in meetings and watch me do it. Kevin nodded slowly. And Kevin? I added, walking toward the door. Tell Stephanie I said hello. I left him standing there. Alone. The contract arrived the next morning. 7 figures. 18-month project. Full digital transformation, rebranding, web presence, social media strategy, internal communication systems. It was the biggest deal Pixel and Thread had ever landed. I signed it in my office alone, with my hands shaking. Not from fear, from something else. Something that felt like justice. I didn't call my family. I didn't post about it. I just got to work. Over the next 3 months, my team and I embedded ourselves in Henderson and Associates. We worked with every department, interviewed employees, analyzed their workflows, built something extraordinary from the ground up. Kevin avoided me. He'd leave meetings early, take calls in the hallway. Once I saw him in the break room and he literally turned around and walked out. Stephanie, on the other hand, tried a different approach. Sarah, hi, she chirped one afternoon, cornering me by the elevators. It's so crazy that you're here. Kevin told me about your company. That's so impressive. I smiled politely. Thank you. We should get coffee sometime, she continued, her voice dripping with fake warmth. You know, catch up. Girl to girl. I'm pretty busy, I said as the elevator dinged. Of course, she laughed nervously. It's just, I want you to know there's no weirdness, right? Between us? I know Kevin can be, well, you know how brothers are? I stepped into the elevator, held the door. Stephanie, I don't think about you enough for there to be weirdness. The doors closed on her shocked face. But the real turning point came during a presentation to the entire company. Robert had asked me to present our progress to all 200-plus employees. Town hall style. It was meant to get everyone excited about the changes coming. I stood on that stage looking out at the sea of faces. Kevin was in the third row, Stephanie beside him, Margaret and the other senior partners up front. And in the back, I noticed someone I hadn't expected. My mother. She was standing near the door with my Aunt Linda, both of them wearing visitor badges. They must have come to meet Kevin for lunch or something. My mother's eyes went wide when she saw me at the podium. I pretended not to notice. "Good afternoon," I began, my voice steady and clear. 3 months ago, Henderson and Associates hired my company, Pixel and Thread, to solve a problem. Your digital presence was outdated, inconsistent, and failing to represent the caliber of work you do. I clicked to the next slide. Before and after comparisons. The room murmured with approval. But what we discovered was something deeper, I continued. This firm has incredible talent, incredible clients, and incredible potential. You just needed someone to show the world what you already knew about yourselves. More clicks, more slides, the new website design, the rebrand, the social media strategy that would position them as industry leaders. The room erupted in applause. Robert stood up. "This is exactly why we hired the best in the business." My mother stood frozen in the back, her hand over her mouth. After the presentation, people swarmed me. Congratulations, questions, business cards. I was polite, professional, gracious. Then I saw her approaching, my mother, walking toward me through the crowd, Aunt Linda trailing behind her. "Sarah?" she said, her voice small. "Honey, what is all this?" I turned to face her fully. "This is my career, Mom," I said simply. "The one you called a stupid hobby." Her face crumbled. I didn't know you owned a company. You never asked," I interrupted, my voice calm but firm. "Not once in 3 years did you ask me how work was going, what I was building, what I was accomplishing. You were too busy being proud of Kevin." Aunt Linda looked uncomfortable. "Sarah, that's not fair, isn't it?" My voice rose slightly. People nearby turned to look. I paid for my own education, built a company from nothing. I'm 26 years old and I run an $8 million agency, but none of you cared because it wasn't what you wanted for me. My mother's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I was successful," I finished. "Or that your words actually hurt." She reached for my hand. I stepped back. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. I looked at her for a long moment. "It's too late for that to matter," I said quietly. I walked away. That night, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. My mother, my father, Kevin. Even Stephanie sent a long text saying she never meant to make me feel less than. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I sat in my apartment with a glass of wine and looked out at the city lights. I'd worked so hard to get here, sacrificed so much, and now that I'd finally proven myself, they wanted back in. But something felt hollow. The victory I'd imagined, the moment they'd all see what I'd become, had happened. And it didn't feel the way I thought it would. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Rita. "I heard about the Henderson presentation," she said when I answered. "Robert called me personally to tell me how brilliant you were." "Thank you," I said, my voice tired. "You don't sound happy." I was quiet for a moment. "I ran into my family there. My mother showed up." Rita sighed knowingly. "And let me guess, now she's proud?" "Now she's sorry," I corrected. "Are you going to forgive her?" I honestly didn't know. "Sarah," Rita said gently, "I'm going to tell you something I wish someone had told me when I was your age. Success is sweetest when you're doing it for yourself, not to prove something to people who should have believed in you from the start." Her words hit me hard. "You've already won," she continued. "You built something incredible. You're talented, respected, and financially independent. The question is, what do you want now?" I thought about that long after we hung up. What did I want? 2 days later, I got an unexpected visitor at my office. Kevin. He stood in my doorway, looking more vulnerable than I'd ever seen him. "Can I come in?" he asked. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. He sat down, fidgeting with his watch. "I've been thinking about what you said. About how I treated you." I waited. "You were right. he said finally. About everything. I was jealous. I've spent my whole life doing what I was supposed to do. Good grades, right schools, respectable career. And I hate it. I blinked, surprised. You hate your job? I hate my life, he said, his voice breaking. I wake up every day and put on a suit and go to meetings that don't matter. Stephanie and I barely talk anymore. Mom still calls me twice a day to check on me like I'm a child. And you just did your own thing. You didn't care what anyone thought. And you're happy. I leaned back in my chair. You think I'm happy? Aren't you? I considered the question. I'm successful? That's not the same thing. Kevin rubbed his face. I don't know why I came here. I guess I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. For real this time. Not because you turned out to be successful, but because I should have been a better brother. For the first time in years, I saw him. Not the golden child. Not the favorite. Just my brother. Flawed, human, lost. Thank you, I said quietly. Do you think... He hesitated. Do you think we could start over? Not like before, but maybe just be siblings again? I thought about Rita's words. About what I wanted. Revenge had felt good for a moment, but it hadn't healed anything. Maybe, I said finally. But it's going to take time, Kevin, and therapy. Probably lots of therapy. He laughed, a real laugh. Yeah, probably. As he stood to leave, he paused at the door. For what it's worth, he said, that presentation was incredible. You're really good at this. I know, I said, allowing myself a small smile. After he left, I sat alone in my office. My phone buzzed. Another text from my mother. Please call me. I need to talk to you. I stared at it for a long time. Then slowly I started typing a response. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe, eventually, a beginning. Mom, I'll call you this weekend. We need to have a real conversation. I hit send. The weight I'd been carrying for years didn't disappear, but it shifted somehow, became something I could finally put down if I chose to. Success wasn't about them anymore. It was about me. And that changed everything. 6 months later, everything looked different. The Henderson and Associates project was complete. We'd transformed them into a digital powerhouse. Their website won awards. Their social media engagement tripled. New clients were flooding in, citing their innovative online presence as a key factor. Robert Chen sent me a bottle of champagne with a note. You didn't just meet expectations. You shattered them. But the real transformation wasn't theirs. It was mine. I had dinner with my mother. Just the two of us. It was awkward at first. Years of hurt don't dissolve over one meal. But we talked. Really talked. She cried. I cried. She told me about her own dreams she'd given up, how she'd projected her fears onto me, how she thought she was protecting me from disappointment. I was wrong, she said, her voice shaking. You were braver than I ever was. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. Kevin and I met for coffee once a month. He'd started seeing a therapist. He admitted he was thinking about leaving Henderson and Associates, maybe doing something creative. Stephanie had moved out. They were separating. I spent so long trying to be perfect, he told me, that I forgot to be happy. I understood that more than he knew. As for me, Pixel and Thread continued growing. We expanded to 2 more cities, hired 30 new employees. I was featured in Forbes' 30 Under 30 list. My mother framed the article. But here's what nobody tells you about revenge, about proving people wrong, about finally being seen. It doesn't feel the way you think it will. The moment I'd dreamed about, standing in that conference room, watching their faces as they realized who I'd become, it happened. And yes, it felt good, for about 10 minutes. Then I went home and felt empty, because I'd built my entire success on their doubt, on their dismissal, on proving them wrong. And that's an exhausting foundation. The real victory came later, quietly, when I stopped working to prove anything to anyone. When I took a weekend off just because I wanted to. When I hired someone I believed in, the way Rita had believed in me. When I walked past a mirror and didn't see the girl they'd humiliated at her graduation party. I saw a woman who'd built something extraordinary. Not despite them. Not because of them. For herself. Last week, I got an email from a young woman, 22, fresh out of college, working her first job at a startup. She'd seen my Forbes feature. "Everyone tells me I'm wasting my potential," she wrote. "That I should get a real job, but I love what I do." Did you ever feel like that? I stared at her email for a long time. Then I wrote back, "Yes, I felt exactly like that." And here's what I learned. Their doubt is not your truth. Build your dream so loud they can't ignore it. But more importantly, build it for you. Because that's the only victory that actually matters. I hit send. Then I closed my laptop, looked out my office window at the city I'd conquered, and smiled. Not because I'd proven them wrong, but because I'd finally proven myself right. My phone buzzed. "My mother. Dinner Sunday? I'm making your favorite." I typed back, "I'll be there." Some stories end with revenge, some end with forgiveness. Mine ended with something better. Freedom. Freedom from their expectations. Freedom from their limitations. Freedom from needing their approval. I bought the company they worked for. I showed them what I was capable of. I won, but the real victory? I stopped needing to win at all. I built an empire. Not to destroy them, but to free myself. And in the end, that was the sweetest revenge of all.